Hello and welcome to course number MSFS 628. This is the course on democratization and governance in Africa. My name is Prof Fomunyohs and I'm an adjunct faculty here at Georgetown University. In my day job, I am a Senior Associate for Africa and Regional Director at the National Democratic Institute for International Affairs, NDI. NDI is a non-profit organization that works to promote and strengthen democracy worldwide. In the past 2 decades, I've had the opportunity to work on NDI programs to design technical assistance programs in favor of political parties, civil society organizations, legislatures, election stakeholders, and various individuals and organizations that work to strengthen democratic governance on the African continent. In terms of my academic background, I hold a bachelor's degree in law from the University of Yaoundé in Cameroon, West Africa. I also hold a master's degree in international law from Harvard Law School and a PhD in political science from Boston University. As I mentioned earlier, I've been an adjunct faculty here at Georgetown University for 5 years, from 2000 to 2005. And so it's a real privilege to be back in the classroom for the spring semester 2018. Some students have asked me what the course will be all about, and my response to them has been that Africa is a fascinating continent. Just about a year ago, an African president who had come to power through a military coup in 1995 stated that he would be president of his country, the Gambia, for another 100 years. Shortly thereafter, he lost a competitive election and was pressured by his peers, other presidents in West Africa, to accept the outcome and to then go into self-exile in Equatorial Guinea. Not too long ago, another long-serving African president, Robert Mugabe of Zimbabwe, who was 93 years old and had been in power for 37 years, had also made a public declaration in which he said that only God could stop him from continuing to be the president of Zimbabwe. And as we now know, a few weeks ago in the month of November 2017, Mugabe was pressured to relinquish power through the intervention of the Zimbabwean military, but also backed up by street protest and a rejection by members of his own political party, the ZANU-PF party. It is also fair to say that in a number of African countries, conflict, violence, and now the new phenomenon of violent extremism and insecurity is undermining economic development and progress on the continent. But at the same time, other countries are doing fairly well. In a few weeks, Liberia, which is a post-conflict country, would have an opportunity for the first peaceful transfer of political power when the first woman elected head of state in Africa would have served 12 years in 2 constitutional terms and would be relinquishing power in January 2018 to another democratically elected head of state. In countries such as Nigeria, Ghana, Senegal, Botswana, Mauritius, South Africa, democracy is doing pretty well, and citizens have become accustomed to regularly renewing the mandate of their leaders through the ballot box. So, we're going to take an opportunity through this course to review all of these developments in Africa, to identify the shortcomings as well as the successes and the major trends of democratization patterns across the continent. I plan to make this class as interactive as possible so that each student can have an opportunity to express their views and to also share their views with their colleagues. And so it's going to be a blend of discussions of ideas and principles from recommended readings, as well as contributions by students in terms of their own views or their own readings or analysis of newspaper articles related to Africa, relating to African issues. Now, who should take the course? I would recommend that any student, any graduate student who is interested in working on Africa or on African issues, whether on the continent or outside of the continent, should think seriously about taking this course. It would be very useful for students who plan to be actively involved in diplomacy or in public administration, in the public sphere, as well as those that are interested in the private sector as well. It would also be appealing to students that may be interested in working in the non-profit world or in non-governmental organizations, just given the diversity of the African continent. So I'm going to try very hard to bring into this one discussion all of Africa in its diversity, with its challenges of development, as well as the progress that has been made, especially in the last 3 decades, as the continent has embraced democratization in this new age of globalization. I therefore look forward to seeing you all in class, given that we're going to try to do all of this in a very exciting way in a cramped program of the next 14 weeks of the spring semester, that hopefully by the time we're all done, each one of the students would find themselves competent enough to be able to speak very knowledgeably about African issues and the state of the continent and the role that the continent could continue to play in the world. Thank you very much for your time and attention, and hopefully I get to see you in class.